Now let's look at form processing and business logic. Okay, so here we have an example where we have a form. Let's just take a look at what the form looks like. As you can see, we have text boxes for first name, last name, email, phone, and then we have a drop down here for which book would you like information about. Then we have another drop down for operating system, and I'm sorry, it's not a drop down for operating system. We have a radio buttons for operating systems, and then a register button. Okay, so this is a very simple form, and all this does, it shows you how to create a form using HTML. Okay, and it's right here. And then the next step here, which is related to PHP, is if the contents of that form were to be sent back to the server, and let's assume there is a file called or a program called form.php on the server, what that program will do with that information. So we'll go through the code of form.php and work through it and see what the output of that form will be, of that program will be. Okay, as far as the HTML itself is concerned, the HTML is very, very straightforward. Okay, now I don't think I really need to explain this because we've gone through this before. This is all simple form information. The only thing I want to draw your attention to is here action equals form.php, which means that when the form contents are submitted, those will then be processed by this program called form.php. The rest of the information in this file is just plain HTML that's laying out the various elements of the form. Okay, now let's assume the user fills out this form, clicks register, and this information goes back to the form.php program. Okay, so when we go here, let's see what happens. Okay, so here our PHP code begins over here. Okay, and first we need to extract all the information from the form, and that can be done using the extract method. So we say extract $_ post, which means that whatever has been posted from the form, extract it. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is we want to determine whether the phone number is valid. Okay, now how do we do that? Okay, so what we want to do in this case is use something called regular expressions to help us see whether the phone number is in a valid format. Okay, now regular expressions is a very common concept, and if you were to learn a scripting language, you will probably learn even more about it. So this is like almost like an introduction to regular expressions. So it's like telling the computer that here's the pattern I'm expecting to be followed. Now can you tell me whether this value matches the pattern? Okay, so if you look at this if statement over here, it says if not ereg, which means if the regular expression that I'm giving you or the pattern that I'm giving you does not match the value of, in this case, $phone, then do this. Okay, so and what is this? Is we're basically telling the user it's an invalid phone number, it's not valid. A valid phone number looks like this. Please go click the back button, and then we call the die function. Now the die function in PHP is basically you're terminating the script. Okay, it's similar to return false when you do JavaScript. Okay, now going back again to the regular function, a regular expression, I'm sorry. So what this regular expression, the way you would read it, is this caret symbol is the beginning. Okay, and this $ symbol is the end of the regular expression, and within that, within parenthesis, we expect 3 digits that could range from 0 to 9. So this is the area code. Okay, we expect that to be followed by another 3 digits. Again, each of those digits can be between 0 and 9. We expect a hyphen, and then we expect 4 digits. Each of those can be between 0 and 9. Okay, so essentially you're saying that you want your phone number expressed looking something like this. Okay, and here if ereg says, oops, these two don't match, if not, so if these two don't match, then you go ahead and say, sorry, it doesn't match, and you call the die function, which means you will exit the script. Okay, so this is one example of a PHP program processing information that's come from a form. Okay, now if the phone number was okay, this program would not die. Instead, it would go on, and here it actually goes ahead and says, hi, and it prints out the user's name, and it gets it from $fname, which is the name of your text box. The name of the text box for the first name was fname, so you refer to it as $fname in PHP, and you print that out. You say thank you for completing the survey, and then you go ahead and say you've been added to the whatever book the user picked from the drop down. You've been added to that mailing list, okay, and the following information has been saved in our database. So basically you have saved a name, email, phone, OS. This is just a table that you're printing, right? Now the next thing is you actually print the values that were entered by the user. So $fname, $lname, $email, $phone, $os. Okay, if you go and compare this to the HTML form, you'll notice that the names of those fields were fname, lname, email, phone, OS. And so we attach a dollar at the beginning in order to grab the value that was entered into each of those elements and then use them within PHP. Okay, now in this form, all we really do is we compare to see if the phone number is valid, if it follows a valid pattern, and we then go ahead, and if it's okay, we go ahead and tell the user that they've been added to a mailing list. There is really no code here for adding to a mailing list, but this is just an example. It's a dummy example. Okay, so I hope this example is clear. This is a very, very simple example of form processing.